right?
Yep,
I don't
that
know.
Fight scene.
Right?
Same
yeah.
one.
Right. I don't know if it was a hammer fist he dropped, or if there was a weapon or forearm something. But you hear that neck break, and you see the guy hanging. You just think, well, this is really creative. I like this. That is brutal.
Welcome back to Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches. I'm Noah.
And I need a haircut.
Yes, you do.
My barber retired. He had the audacity after 50 years of cutting hair to decide at age 83 he didn't want to do it anymore. I'm outraged.
Wow. Perfect segue. Speaking of who also needs a haircut.
Yes.
I don't know. Depends on who you ask. Keanu Reeves. John Wick. I can't imagine it's easy to fight with all that hair flying in your face.
I can't imagine it's easy to fight without having someone grab that hair by the back of your head and yank you around by it.
Exactly. We are talking about the original John Wick today. The birth of a modern legend.
That's a good question. Is John Wick a modern legend?
100%.
Okay.
100%.
Why?
Okay, so we think about famous Hollywood action hero characters. Okay, we think about the protagonists and the heroes who stick with us for years. We got characters like Rocky Balboa.
Okay.
All right, Sarah Connor, Ripley from Aliens. You know, we have these characters that are ingrained in pop culture. And for a while there, it looked like we weren't going to have any new ones. It looked like the day of the action hero had passed for a while there. Because from the 1990s to the mid-2000s and into the 2010s, it was a lot of comic book movies. We came to see how they came to dominate the market. So we were seeing characters that already were ingrained in pop culture just get even more ingrained. But with what 8711 and 87 North have created with their John Wick franchise is a new modern hero that is just in the public consciousness. John Wick. Most people, even if they haven't seen one of the movies, they've probably seen the clips on YouTube. They've probably seen the unforgettable action scenes, you know. And you've got, of course, your own myth behind the legend, Keanu Reeves playing the main character. The man whose reputation in Hollywood is so good, it's almost impossible not to dislike him.
What? What the Not to like him?
Or not to like him.
Right.
Yeah, to almost impossible to dislike him.
There we go.
I'm tripping over my own words.
That's okay. It's early.
Yeah, it is. It is. The impact that John Wick has had not only on the public, the audiences of movies nowadays, but on Hollywood in general. I mean, it kind of spurred this new wave of action movies. We've got a bunch more coming from the same people. We watched Bullet Train. We watched Violent Night. There's a new one coming out that I want to see. It's called Sisu. And Sisu, made by the same people, 8711, 87 North, are putting in the advertisements. Their advertising campaign is half focused on, don't worry, the dog doesn't die in this one. And everyone gets that reference because of this movie. So, John Wick 1, let's get into it.
Well, that's quite the introduction.
Yeah.
Now, I have one question, and I watch these movies. I don't generally research them. Mm-hmm. Is John Wick based on a video game?
No.
Okay. Is John Wick based on a novel?
Nope.
John Wick is the creation of a movie studio.
John Wick is the creation of a crew of talented people. Chad Stahelski is an American stuntman, actor, director, and he's the guy behind the John Wick franchise. And he was if I'm not mistaken, he was a stuntman on The Matrix.
Okay.
So he worked heavily with Keanu Reeves and seeing it from that side of the industry, I'm very, 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 very entry level into the film industry as a stunt performer. But I can tell you that knowing the big names that are working right now, a lot of people, Chad Stahelski, and people like Brad Martin and other people who are big in the stunt industry are moving away from the stunt side of things and into the directing, the acting, that side of the industry. So you have this entire generation of people who made these action movies like The Matrix and, what's another one that was Underworld back in the early 2000s. It was a vampire series.
Right. Yeah.
People who came up in the industry working on those types of films are now stepping out of the physical side and into the creative side.
Well, if memory serves, and my friend Dave the Bond Whisperer will correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I think there were a couple of stunt actors from the Bond series who eventually became directors of movies. So I would imagine there comes a point in time when your body just can't take the pounding anymore, but you still want to be involved in the industry, and you expand your talent pool, so your skill set, I should say.
Yes.
To do that, John Wick. John Wick is a consume the content movie, but it's not one of those mindless shutdown, just let it roll type things, because it's compelling. It shouldn't be.
Yeah. But
I think it's because the action is so sharp.
Yes.
I think the quality of the stunts, and if I define John Wick the movie by one action sequence, one stunt scene,
okay,
can you guess what it is?
Well,
this may or may not. The movie's got so many of them.
My personal one that is the best is the first real fight scene where he's suiting up, and it starts off he's like shirtless, he's showing all the tattoos, and then you got the crime boss Vigio. How do you say his name?
Vigio.
The dad.
Yeah, Vigio.
Sending 12 hitmen to go take him out.
All right.
I'll tell you, that is the fight scene for me in this entire movie, but go ahead.
John Wick flips one of the bad guys onto his kitchen counter. The guy lands on his back, and I don't know what hit he drops on that guy.
It's in that fight scene.
But he breaks his neck backwards off the back.
Over the counter.
Right.
Yep,
I don't know.
Fight scene.
Right.
Same one.
Right. I don't know if it was a hammer fist he dropped or if there was a weapon or forearm, something, but you hear that neck break, and you see the guy hanging. You just think, well, really creative. I like this. It is brutal. And, these movies like John Wick are guilty pleasures. It allows us to indulge in enjoying a gladiatorial scene without anybody getting seriously hurt.
Yeah.
We can indulge ourselves in enjoying the bloodbath and the carnage, knowing that everybody walked away safely.
Well, and I think we can enjoy that because the movie does such a good job of establishing John. This movie has a decent bit of writing to it because, and I'm not doing this, it's not an Oscar winner, okay?
No,
no. It's not an Oscar winner, but like for an action movie that is mostly action, I mean, let's be real, the amount of effort they put into making you emotionally invested into John is kind of impressive, because we start off with John as this widower. So already you're like, oh man, you kind of feel for the guy just a little bit, because you see him that he lost his wife, all right, and that she left him a dog as the last thing. And then you get to see him bond with the dog and take the dog out for a car ride, and then you see the bad guys come in and they steal his car and they beat him to a pulp and they kill the dog. And it's like the easiest way to tell you that not only are these guys stupidly evil. They would kill an innocent animal that poses no threat to them other than to just spit in this dude's face.
Yeah.
But, you know, you also see that he's a widower, he's mourning the loss of his wife, and that this dog is the last thing he has of her to remember her by at this point. So they've taken that one last thing from him. And then they go about, I actually saw a breakdown of this. And if I can find the video, I will link it in the description below. They give him a villain introduction. The antagonists of the film treat him like the antagonist. When the father Vigio is giving the boogeyman speech.
The boogeyman speech is one of the best moments of filmmaking. It
really
is well done.
Because they are setting him up like he's a villain. They have made him this unstoppable powerhouse. Like, normally you get like, okay, so what's the scene in The Dark Knight where they're in the Batcave? All right, the Batcave that looks like an early 2000s music video set. All right, and Michael Caine playing Alfred is walking up to Bruce. He's like, "Some men just want to watch the world burn, Mr. Wayne." You know, that's establishing the threat of Joker, right?
Yes.
Because the villains need to have something that the heroes don't. That is what makes them the villain. That's what makes them a threat. The hero has to find another way to stop them. John Wick isn't getting that speech from Ian McClane. Is it Ian McClane, the owner of Winston, the owner of the Continental? He isn't getting that speech about Vigio. He isn't getting that speech from Lance Reddick, rest in peace, legendary actor. He doesn't get that from like Lawrence Fishburne or John Leguizamo. The villains are giving that speech to each other about the protagonist. You all of a sudden have this protagonist who is treated like a villain, as this unstoppable force. And so you get this beautiful dichotomy. You see that he's a vulnerable, exposed man, but now you see they're hyping up what's going to happen when that man has nothing else to lose. And that's really all you needed for this for this franchise. That's really all you needed.
Okay.
All you needed was to establish the force that is John Wick. And I think they did a really good job of it. I think it's entertaining, it's easy enough to follow, but it's done well.
If we run into people who enjoy John Wick as much as people enjoyed, couple of the movies in the past that they've kind of raked us for, this is going to make a lot of friends. John Wick is not a hero, and John Wick is not a good guy.
No.
And John Wick never should have been in the situation that he's in. This is pure Hollywood.
Yes.
And I'll tell you this: John Wick is very clearly an accomplished, cold-blooded, ruthless murderer. And what we don't see is how John Wick went from being that to a man so in love with this one woman that he walked away from that lifestyle.
Yeah.
Clearly, he didn't completely walk away from the lifestyle. Instead of leaving all of his equipment behind, he buried it in his house. And the fact that he put it under cement really doesn't mean anything, because very clearly he could get the tools of his trade out from under that cement if he was willing to crack the foundation of his house with a sledgehammer, which he did.
Yes.
Okay, so my question for you is, the same question that I posed in the Expendables review. Can you get to a point where you kill so much that your soul is unredeemable? Okay.
Yep.
Now, I would argue that if John Wick was such this mysterious, ruthless, unstoppable killer, that he's the man you send to kill the boogeyman, part of that great video,
scene.
right? That he probably couldn't walk away from it the way he did, and walk away from that lifestyle and fall in love and give it all up. So there's this tired trope in Hollywood, the guy who gives up his lifestyle and just wants to retire in peace and then gets dragged back into it. It's a cheap, easy, thoughtless vehicle for an action sequence. And so, having said all that, because I'm being super hyper critical of the character, the character really isn't redeemable. He's not particularly likable. He had a beagle puppy for 2 days. I've raised a beagle. They're just not that cute. Okay, every day I want to shoot that dog, and she just looks at me with those big brown eyes, and she's like, "But I love you," and he's like, "Okay, I'll let you live another day." I've been doing that every day for 12 years. She's finally becoming a decent dog. If the love of my life died and a day later someone shows up in a delivery van with a crate with a beagle puppy, I might shoot the driver. He was like, "Really? I thought you loved me. You gave me a puppy?" We didn't see the puppy pee on his bedspread or on the floor or take a crap in the corner or do all the other things that puppies do. We didn't see him get up and find his slippers torn to shreds or the dog chewing a hole in his underwear. All those things that puppies do, you know. Do we see cute, adorable little, "Oh, look, it's a puppy"? Personally, it didn't kill me that the beagle died. Right? It just, I don't know. It works because of the quality of the action. And because inside each one of us, let's face it, we've all had our revenge fantasy. We've all had it. There's that one person in the life that you just want to go back and just, take it out on. And we get to see John Wick do it, and we get to see him successfully do it. Once again, in a movie, we get a scene, and I really wish someone would do this differently. Really, truly wish someone would do this differently. John Wick gets caught. John Wick's in a chair.
Yep.
Bad guy's standing there with a gun. I'm sorry, Viggo's got to be a ruthless killer in his own right. This whole idea of the head honcho bad guy not doing his own dirty work and walking away so that his inept underlings can get beaten, I'm kind of tired of it. I would like the movie where he just takes the gun and shoots John Wick in the head while he's sitting in a chair. Don't monologue. Don't talk about it. Ever since The Incredibles, monologuing should be done. It should be completely done. The Incredibles destroyed that for all future movies. Enough talk. He's sitting right there. Shoot him. If you don't like that one, Austin Powers. All right, Dr. Evil's son. Shoot him. He's right there. Just shoot him. No, I must create this overly complicated death sequence. Shoot him. Give me the gun. I'll do it. Shoot him. This is, a cartoon and a comedy spoof. Pretty much destroyed and yet here they're still doing it. And I still like this movie. And normally, when I go on a tear like this, I really don't. But there's just something about the John Wick movie that's just, it's this ride. Maybe it's because in real life, Keanu Reeves has such a great reputation as a human being. Maybe
he does.
Because you pick up the movies, so you don't see the past life of John Wick. And so but the action is fantastic. It really is good.
It is. It is absolutely fantastic. It has truly set a new benchmark industry standard that people are actively talking about. In the industry, people are actively talking about 8711 and 87 North being the standard and having the highest standard. That being said, no one's perfect. John Wick 4 I recently watched, and you can see a couple things that are like, okay, everyone needed a car hit and a stair fall for their stunt rail. Got it. Spoilers, there's a lot of those in that movie. But for the most part, they have elevated the standard to such a high degree.
Okay, so
it's absolutely insane.
Have you seen John Wick 2 and 3?
I have seen the clips from John Wick 2 and 3, and I've seen, I think, the majority of John Wick 2.
Okay.
It gets, honestly, it gets to a point where you're like, if you haven't sat down and watched all of them, it's hard to remember what came from which movie.
So, am I going to sit down and watch them and enjoy them, or am I going to be bored?
If you liked the action in the first one, you'll like the action in all of them. You'll probably enjoy all of them.
And is it a
fun.
tissue paper thin storyline?
Usually. Now, what I will give them credit for
Okay.
is that, and it's the word that you hate, they actually have done a decent job with the world building in this.
I knew that was coming.
Okay? We're going to have to do a world building video about what it is and how it works. But, this first movie, what do you get? You get this basic setup. You've got all these hitmen. They use gold coins as currency. There's this hotel called the Continental where you have to follow the rules. You cannot do your business on Continental grounds. It's a safe house.
Right.
All right. You get a little bit of that. Over the next few movies, you start learning about the high table and just how deep this conspiracy goes. There's this entire underworld with all these major crime families all having someone seated at this high table, and that there are rules to this world, there are rules to the combat, there's rules to who you can take hits out on, who you can where you can fight. They just start expanding it, and they start playing with it, and then they almost get away with it because the action is so grounded yet almost superhuman. Obviously, no one's gonna get through these massive fight scenes without being slightly superhuman, obviously. Right. But you're looking at them and you're like, okay, but everything he does, it's not that flashy. He's not doing jump spin kicks in the Matrix. There's a lot of grappling.
Yep.
There's a lot of using people as shields. There's a lot of slamming people into walls, flipping them over, throwing them on the ground. He takes multiple shots to everyone.
I happen to really like the stunt sequences where someone is used as a shield. I don't know what it is about that, but I see them and I just
because it makes sense and it's smart.
Well, it makes sense and it's smart and it's always some underling who's lives and dies by the sword. But it's I always think, well, that sucks to be you.
Makes the equivalent of minimum wage in this underground society.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Totally and completely expendable.
Yeah.
So there's a couple things that the movie didn't explain that I would like to have had some background to. Like, what was the relationship between John Wick and Marcus, Willem Dafoe's character? Because it looks like, they set it up to make it look like it's going to be an assassination, and really Marcus is protecting John, and we never find out why. I would love to have found out why, because there's almost an honor among thieves.
I think they mentioned that Marcus was his mentor.
Yeah, but in
a passing line.
In a movie where money buys everything.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I would like to have known that. Mrs. Perkins, who is a very interesting character, ruthless killer in her own right, decides to violate the rules of the Continental. Did she think she was going to get away with it? And when she was called to the meeting...
How did she not see what was coming?
Yeah, did she not know what was coming?
I feel like knowing where Winston ends up, I feel like people just constantly underestimate Winston. I feel like he is Ian McShane's character.
Is he the hotel?
Yeah, he's the hotel owner.
A hotel owner.
I think he's just constantly underestimated.
Well, he very clearly wields a tremendous amount of power, and he has got contacts and abilities deeper than John Wick. And that's very clear. I thought that Lance Reddick as the hotel manager, I don't know a lot of Lance Reddick's work, but every time he was on screen, not only does he have had tremendous stage presence, I mean, he really commanded your attention, but I always got the feeling that if something went south in the lobby, he was going to take care of it quickly and ruthlessly, The man exuded power, and I just thought he there at the front.
He had charisma.
Oh yeah,
dude was a presence. I think that was something that they did really well in this franchise.
Does he make other appearances?
Yes, he's in all of them.
All right.
If I recall correctly.
I would have liked to have I would like to see, and don't spoil this one for me, if he gets involved in any action sequences, because I would just like to see if they ever gave his character the power and abilities that you just kind of suspected were lurking under the surface. So that was one thing that I really would have liked to have seen, but actually holding it off till later is not a bad thing. I will say this. John Wick's not a hero. John Wick is not an anti-hero. There's nothing heroic about John Wick. This was cold-blooded revenge over a
100%.
dog in a car.
Yeah.
I mean, could there be any cheaper reasons to take human life other than convenience? You know, you can read between the lines on that one. So, you know, and I still loved the movie. So
yeah, gotta clarify that we loved the movie.
Oh yeah,
it's fun. It
is fun, and this is one of those. This does not fall into the category if it pops on TV on a Saturday afternoon. Sit down and watch it, because I don't think this movie would be good cut for TV. The gun-fu and just the amount of headshots. You cut those out, you cut out a tremendous amount of the fun action sequences of the movie. And as ridiculous as, that would be in real life, in the movies,
it's fun.
You can just go for the ride.
That's fun.
So, I found this copy of John Wick at Walmart in the sale rack for $5. Because I'm really cheap, and we needed to watch it for the show. And I will say, the more streaming services we have, the fewer movies I buy. But this is one I would keep and just occasionally pop in and watch just to go for the ride.
Just because it's fun.
Just because it's fun.
Fun.
Yep, it is. So, John Wick, if like me, you've lived in a cave for 9 years and you haven't seen John Wick, go watch it.
It's a good, solid action film. It spawned a very solid action franchise, and it's a modern action hero legend. Like, people are going to compare a lot of things to John Wick from now on because it has set a new standard.
Mm-hmm.
John Wick is now, like, people will tell you, I'm just going to go John Wick on you, something like that. It is going to be said. It is the standard.
Okay.
It is the standard. He is a modern legend.
Okay. I won't argue the modern legend at all. I won't even begin to. All right.
I won't argue the hero, anti-hero, not a hero concept.
So what are your thoughts on John Wick? Put your comments down below. Hit subscribe if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more. Final thought?
No.
Okay.
I've said it all. John Wick, fantastic franchise. Well,
I think we're going to be watching 2 and 3 and 4.
And 2, 3, 4, and
give a wrap up.
And give a wrap up on this. So
as long as there's not a John Wick 5 in the nursing home, the Continental nursing home with the walkers and the wheelchairs.
It'd be a funny YouTube skit, though.
It would actually be a very funny YouTube skit. I'm John Wick.
Thanks for tuning in this week, and we'll see you next time.
I'm gonna roll over your foot. My wheelchair. Where's my dentures?
Imagine he's got the electric wheelchair, he presses a button and a blade pops out and he just rams into someone's leg.
You won't have to edit in the after credits. The best work came at the end.
No.